Hello and welcome to Zentangle class number 64. I'm not at the beach as you can see, which is very sad, but I'm glad to be back in Maquanico in my own bed and in my own town. So we're going to start with the first one here. I'm just going to draw a box. You can draw whatever shape you want, of course. And I'm going to do a grid, but it's going to be a rectangle grid. So you can make the spacing of your grid however large you want, but I have tried it with a little bit bigger or a little bit wider rows, and I recommend that you don't go beyond too much beyond a half an inch unless you have a very large space to fill. So mine are a little bit less than a half inch, I guess. I mean, I'm not obviously measuring it. So now I have my rows done. My columns are going to be wider, so I want to have the spacing of my row be probably double or more. Oh, sorry, the spacing of my column to be double or more what the spacing of my row is. So you can see they make little rectangles. I'm just going to start in the left column here, and I'm going to draw a line from the center point to the corner. So from here, I'm just going to draw a straight diagonal line. I'm going to skip one and do the same thing in every other box for the column. So in the next column, I'm going to do the first one. So basically you're going to do these lines here kind of in a checkerboard pattern. So you're going to do every other one, and then the next row you're going to skip or alternate and do every other one opposite of what you just did. So you can kind of see that you're just going to kind of do every other box like a checkerboard type thing. Your bottom row may not be complete. Just draw your line however you kind of think it would look. And you may have a row like mine here on the right where you really would only see a little bit, so you have to imagine that there's another line way out here. And you're just going to see a little teeny tiny piece of that diagonal line. You may not have this in yours, so you don't have to worry about that if you don't. As you can see on the left, we're going to start filling this in. And I'm actually going to switch to my pencil. I'm going to do the pencil line first. It doesn't matter which you do first. I just want to. So you're going to fill in this little triangle, as you can see, this little wedge piece here. And there's two different ways that you can fill this in. I'm going to do kind of a gradient look, where I'm just going to do the whole thing here, and I'm going to go back and color in that little point really dark. So that's one way that you could fill it and get that gradient look. And by gradient, I mean it's darker on one end and lighter on the other, kind of like an ombre look. Or you can do is you can start in the corner and press really hard here to get a nice dark shadow. And then as you get to the side line on the right, you're just going to ease up your pencil and do it very lightly. So whichever way is easier for you. If you prefer not to shade at all, you can just color in this entire triangle with one solid pencil color. going to switch over to my Sharpie, my large one. This is just like we're going to be coloring in a large section that's black. And this is the remaining section next to your penciled, colored in, one that you colored in with the pencil, the little wedge. So you're going to color in this little trapezoid here that is to the left, or if yours is the other way, on the right, but mine's to the left, in completely black. Just going to check and make sure it didn't bleed through to my table. So this part, you want to make sure, the trick is to make sure that the lines that you're drawing in this, especially in this black section, are going to be straight. So if you have one that's a little bit wonky, I have a couple that are slightly not straight, so you just want to go through with your marker and just straighten those out. That's what's going to help create this optical illusion like you're creating. If you can see on the left, it looks like there's kind of some cavities or some little pieces that have been removed from your brick wall here. So that's going to be the theme for, I don't know, off and on throughout July. The next illusion we're going to draw is called a paradox. I'm not sure why, it's just what it's called. So I'm going to show you that you can draw this in several different types of shapes. I'm going to start with a box. I'm just going to draw one single box, and this is something you can just watch if you want to. You don't have to draw, otherwise you can certainly follow along. So how you start this is basically like you're drawing a spiral. So you want to start in one corner, and you're going to go at an angle to the next line. And you're going to do that same spacing and go to the next line. So you're just going to continuously work your way around. So whatever spacing you start with across the top, you want that to be all the way through. So now here you're going to stop when you get to the line you just drew. So I'm going to kind of change my hand here so I can draw better. And now you're just going to keep spiraling into itself, stopping at the line that you just drew. So from here, I'm not going to go to the outside edge. I'm just going to keep working my way around. You want to make sure that your spacing is similar and that your lines are as straight as you can make them on your own. You do not need to get a ruler. If it really does bother you, you certainly can. Or you can use some sort of grid paper or graph paper behind. It's up to you. But I just like to do it freehand and see how it turns out. Sometimes my lines are not 100% perfect. Don't worry about that. But just try to get them as straight as you can. So you can see that it's going to start to make kind of a spiraled look to it. It's very cool. I know I keep changing how I draw the pencil, but it's because I can't put my head over the paper to draw. Otherwise, you'd see the back of my head instead of my hands. So I have to keep changing which direction I draw with my pen. But it really is just a continuous spiral all the way in until you get to the very, very center. And these little ones here in the middle are very small. You're just going to keep going until you really can't see anymore. So that's the square version. I'm going to draw quickly, show you that you can do this with a triangle. And of course, they don't need to be right angles or anything like that. It can be a rectangle. It can be kind of a wonky trapezoid. It does not need to be perfect shapes like this. So it works the same. You can see that I'm just going to keep spiraling in and stopping at the line and just keep working my way to the center, just like I did with the square one. So that's you can certainly change what design you want. So now we're going to use that same pattern and we're going to change it up a little bit, and we're going to do, basically I'm going to draw 2 boxes here, and I'm going to divide them into quads. So that's going to be 4 sections. So I'm just going to draw my boxes quickly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to change the direction that we draw the center spiral or the paradox spiral. So I'm just going to grid these off here. Just kind of eyeball it. Again, they don't have to be perfectly straight or right down the middle. You can see that some of my lines are a little bit off, but no worries. So I'm just going to start on one of the boxes here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to start in this left corner. I'm working in this top box, and I'm going to do the paradox pattern in the opposite direction that we just did the practice one. So I started at the outside corner, and I'm going to work my way to the right. And I'm just going to continuously spiral in the same direction. And some of my spacing's a little bit off here, so no worries. If your spacing gets a little bit wider, just continue to go. So now for the second box, I'm going to move over to the one on the right side. I'm going to do the exact same direction. So I'm going to start at the center point and go out to the right side edge. My spacing here is a little bit too large, but don't worry about that. This is just for you to learn. Obviously, if you're doing something for like a contest or something, you want to make sure that you take your time and keep your spacing accurate. But we're not doing that. We're doing it for fun. You can continue to fill in the rest of the boxes using the same direction. But what I'm going to do for these bottom boxes is I'm going to basically take the top pieces and I'm going to go the other direction. So I'm going to flip my paper. I'm still going to draw in the same direction, but now my box direction goes from the center point out to the right still from the way that we're looking at it now. But if you flip the paper the right direction, it'd be going from the top to the left. So you can see by turning your paper, it won't confuse you when you're drawing. But it will change up the pattern. So each box can have a different direction, or you can do all the same direction, or you can flip them in different ways and play with the paradox pattern, because as you can see, it's going to start creating a different shape. So it creates kind of this like pinwheel wedge piece. If you look between the top box here, or what's on the top now, and the bottom box, they're going to create kind of that little wedge, swirly wedge piece there, which looks really cool. So you can continuously flip them and play with them and all that sort of thing. So in this last box here, I'm going to do the same thing. Work from my outside edge to what would be the center, and just continuously go the same way. It does help to flip your paper if you get a little confused by how exactly you want to do your pattern, or you can draw it out. Just draw quickly some boxes and kind of do a spiral with some arrows on it so you can keep it straight how you want to draw it. So after you have it all done, you can see that just by changing the direction, it creates a little bit different look. So now we're going to go on to the second box. I'm going to zoom back in here so you can see it. I'm going to do the same exact paradox thing, so that hasn't changed. And the first box is going to be the same. So I'm going to start on the left and draw to my center line on the right, or in the middle, I guess. And we're just going to do the same thing. So now for this next box, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to flip it from the outside edge to the center line. So I drew mine obviously reverse there, but you want to go from the outside point to the center line. And you want to, when you get to the center line, these pieces that are close here, you want to try and get them to line up or be in approximately the same spot. I've noticed on some of the practice ones that I did, if for some reason my lines were off, it makes the design look a little skewed. So when these pieces are close, right along the center line here, you want to sort of kind of eyeball where you're supposed to draw your line to, and then do your swirl for that. Once they get further away from each other, you don't have to worry about it so much because it's just not noticeable. But when they're close to each other like that, where they kind of meet, you want to just sort of get close. I mean, that's the general goal, is just to get close. You don't have to obviously use a ruler, but get close. So you can see it kind of makes a really cool pattern, completely different. So imagine you take the top two and you're going to flip them upside down. So for this bottom left box, I'm going to start at my top point and go to the center line. So I'm basically drawing the spiral in the reverse direction, going down. So you're just going to continue to do the exact same thing and ignore the fact that my spacing is way off here, but just, again, don't worry about that. Pretend you didn't see it. So in our final box here, we're going to do the same thing in the opposite direction. So we're going to go from this center point, or excuse me, from the right side to the center. So I'm just going to draw my line so it lines up with that center point on the other side. Whoops, don't do that. Make sure you watch where you're drawing. Sometimes I can't see when I draw for these videos because I can't tip my head the right direction. So it draws things a little bit off point. So as you can see for this design, it makes a really cool fan type pattern. So just by switching up the direction that you draw your spirals, you can make a completely different look. So again, you can draw these very large, you can draw them very small, you could do a series of triangles, whatever it is that you want. You can mix and match your shapes, you could link these together to make a border, any kind of a thing. So this is the paradox pattern, and again, you can play with that however you want. We're going to continue with some optical illusions throughout the month of July. So we do have our next live class on July 8th. We also have one, I believe it's the 22nd. From 6:30 to 7:30. So if you can join us, that'd be great. If not, we do post the videos, of course, as well each week. I hope that you're having a really great day, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.